Welcome to another episode of the Wandering Watercolor. Let's paint. So today we're painting the 6th page of the Jungle Animals Watercolor Coloring book. And as always, you want to make sure that you have a plate to mix your colors. It can be any regular old porcelain plate. This is just a soap dish. Scrap piece of paper, palette, whatever palette you're using is fine. This is paint that I make. Hopefully I'll have it available by the time this book comes out. Any brush works. Paper towel just to dry your brush off. And some cups of water on the side. Now, this one is a picture of a tiger, obviously. And it's pretty straightforward. The first thing that we want to do is we're just going to grab some yellow. And much like when we painted the tree frog on one of the previous pages, we want to add a little bit of a highlight so that when we start putting down orange colors, we have something to contrast that. So the first thing we'll do is we'll just mix up a bunch of yellow, and then grabbing some water, we can go ahead and start laying down some marks. So we'll put a little bit up here where the ear is, down here on the side of where the mane, like that. And don't worry about being too accurate or too precise with how you're laying down these colors, since we will be obviously painting over them. I'm just going to add a little bit here in the face, like that. Add some water, get a little more yellow. A little bit up here. Here, like that. A little bit up here. I'm gonna rinse my brush off a little bit and then fade out some of those edges. Like that. And I grab a little more yellow so that we have a little bit to work with down here. Like that. On the outside here, like that. There we go. And we also want to add a little bit here on the face, the little scruff here on the muzzle, like that. Okay. Now that we have that, we'll grab a little bit of the light brown, mix it in. Give that okay, that looks okay. And we're going to add obviously some red so we can bump up those values. Some yellow, and red, and kind of like go back and forth a little bit. A little more of the light brown. Now, orange is one of the hardest colors to work with. The reason being is it has the smallest amount of space on the light spectrum. So green has the largest amount of space on the light spectrum. So there's not as many different shades of orange as they are of green, for example. And so that's a pretty decent orange that we've mixed up. We can start to go ahead and then just lay that in like that. Very heavily, as you can tell, on the towards the back here. I'm imagining that the light source is more coming from the front of the tiger. And then once we have all that in, I'm gonna wet my brush a little bit so we can kind of pull that out like that. Wet my brush while the paint is still on there, because make it a little bit easier to move around the paint. And then going into the mane a little bit under here, just kind of emphasizing some of the texture. Wetting my brush, I'm going, make sure I get here where the eyes are, around the eyes. And then obviously I'll go in and create multiple layers as we're building this out. Gonna add a little more down here, overlay on top of the yellow, like that. Down here, blending it in. And then I'm just going to grab a little more of the light brown to throw in with the mixture, and then I'll go in a little bit here around the eyes, kind of like that. Emphasizing kind of like some of the indents, like that. And then just rinsing my brush and fading out the colors. I do want to make sure I have, a good amount of the yellow showing through. I don't want to just cover up everything, but I do want to blend it in so it's not just, so it kind of looks like a natural progression between the yellow and the orange. Down here, I am making a little more of textured marks because I do want to show a little bit of the texture of the scruff. And I'm going to go ahead and grab a little more of the light brown. So now it's more overpowering. And using this color to create a little bit of a hair texture. Basically just doing some short strokes here and there just to show the way that the hair is moving. A little bit down here like that. A little bit up here by the mane. I just want to make sure that some of those brush strokes are visible. Like that. Add a little bit of moisture to the brush and a little bit down here. And emphasizing a little bit more up here by the eyes. So I want there to be a little more color by the eyes so that when I paint in the actual eyeballs themselves, they'll pop a little more. Okay, now I'm just gonna wet my brush, dry it out, so I can fade in some of the edges of the colors that I've laid down. Not everywhere, but just here and there, just a little bit. Rinse my brush. Gonna get some of the dark brown, mix it in with the light brown. so that we can get a nice color for the nose. I'm gonna paint that in like that. Okay. And I'm just gonna grab a little bit of red, put it into this mixture so I can paint in a little bit of the ears here, like that. A little bit here. Rinse that out, and then maybe I'll grab a little more of the light brown, a little bit more of the red, just so I can put in a little more color back here, like that, like that. There we go. Next, I'm just going to grab just straight green. Nothing more, nothing less. I just want a good amount of green. Add a good amount of water, because that's what we'll use for the background. Just testing it out a little bit. But yeah, I want to make sure that I have a good amount mixed up. And then just basically laying all that back here like that. Just a flat wash. Not really caring about texture or shading. We just want to fill in the background as much as possible. I'm going to add a little more paint and add a little more on the paper and add water and just kind of blend that out. There we go. Like that. Okay. Rest my brush, maybe fade some of that out of here. Now, as far as the color of the eyes, you actually have multiple options. So apparently tigers can have brown, yellow, kind of like emerald, green, blue, green, just like people, I guess. I kind of looked that up when I was trying to figure out the image that I wanted in here. And so you can honestly go multiple ways, depending on how you want it to look. For this particular one, I decided to go with blue. The reason being is because there isn't any other really space in the image that's blue. Adding that will make it look, it'll make it stand out, or actually make it look a little more interesting. But before doing that, I do want to add more in the background. And the way we'll do that is with the green that we have here, I'm going to grab a little bit of the brown. And kind of like the page where we were painting the mandrill baboon, all I'm going to do is I'm going to use this mixture to throw in some random brush strokes in between the leaves in the background. Because what that does is it creates a little bit of an illusion of depth. And like there's more going on in the background than just some lines. So just picking it at random, kind of like where to add that. Like over here, like that, down here, like that, maybe a little more down here, like that. Rinse my brush. And dry it off. And so now the last thing to do is to get some of the dark blue. If you have phthalo blue, that's a really good color to use in this case. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and add towards the upper half of the eye. I'm just going to go ahead and add the blue. And kind of like the same on the other side. I'm going to rinse my brush completely, dry it off completely. So there's just a little bit of moisture so I can pull some of that down. Like that. I'm going to rinse my brush again, dry it off completely. And then pull off some of that excess again. The reason being is the color will pull down, and then same on the other side. Just pull off some of the excess, like that. And that looks pretty good. I'm just gonna back up. I think it's finished. I just want to back up just to get a better perspective. So yeah, I would say that that's perfectly finished. I like how it looks. Hopefully yours turned out the same. It took, let's see, 18 minutes. Yeah, same as the last one, not bad. So if you have questions, leave a comment or send me an email. And please do tag me if you post anything on social media. I do love seeing what people paint. And with that, I thank you for your time. I'll see you on the next one.